Hello and welcome to What's Your Story? I have a fabulous guest for you today. I'm so excited about interviewing her. Her name is Hannah Roper. She is an entrepreneur, a speaker, a radio host, and a country music singer. And what's so amazing about this is that she lives in the UK. She's not an American country singer, she's a UK country singer. So she is the driving force behind the female creative and empowering community for creative businesses. And she has 9+ years of business success and 20 years in learning and development. Hannah offers valuable guidance to women navigating business, and she has embarked on a transformative journey balancing business and corporate careers, embodying strategic thinking and work-life balance, shining a light for women in business. So, welcome, Hannah. We're so glad to have you here.
Oh,
Hi.
thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's wonderful to have you with us today. I'm so excited, and I want to apologize to you for the little bit of a delay we had because I have a swimming pool full of baby ducks that look like they're about to drown, and I've been out there trying to get somebody to come and take care of them. And so, thank you for tolerating being here and waiting for me. So, Hannah, I'm so glad to have you here. The female creative. Tell us, what does success mean to you?
Success means balance. I think that is probably the easiest way to describe it. So often I found, especially when I was early in my entrepreneurial journey, is success was so caught up in the financial achievement in business that it was all about how much money you made. It was all about how much money you earned, what you spent, and that show of wealth. And becoming an entrepreneur myself, I realized that if I was focusing just on the financial aspect, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. There was still something missing when I was running my businesses and following my creative projects and my passion projects. So for me, success is all about finding that balance. I very much look at not only the financial side of business, but also the creative side. Am I fulfilling my creative need? Am I pushing myself creatively? And then also the impact side. Am I having a positive impact on my audience? Am I inspiring them? Am I providing them something to aspire to? And that for me is really what emulates success. And knowing that when I put my head on my pillow at nighttime, that I have made a difference. And I think that's really important to me.
And how do you balance your business with all of your other commitments? I mean, my goodness, you do so many things.
I do. I am definitely what they would call a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I love to have that positive impact. I love to support other organizations, but I still hold down an employed job. And the reason that I do that is because I love what I do and I feel like I'm not done yet. I feel like I haven't had the full impact yet that I wanted to achieve. So I make the choice to run my business, The Female Creative, to still have a country music festival, which I hosted just this weekend, where I bring artists from all over the UK and all over the world to come and perform in my hometown. And I'm also on the board of directors for an inspirational women's award ceremony, because, again, I want to be able to lift other people up. I want to be able to provide that platform for other people to shine. And I so often get asked, like, how do you do it all? Do you sleep? Are you superhuman? My friends joke that I was made in a lab. But really, for me, it is about practicing flexibility, practicing self compassion, and bringing together projects that are very seasonal. So, for example, when I know that I'm running the music festival, I know that the female creative can take a couple of steps back. When I am hosting the awards event, I know that the country music festival has to take a couple of steps back. So, for me, it's all about being able to bend and flex, work seasonally. But the most important thing that I've learned is to be kind to yourself. So often, when I was doing all of these projects and doing all the things and wearing all the hats, I would really berate myself and I would talk really negatively to myself because I might have forgotten something, or I maybe might haven't have achieved something that I had wanted to that day. And after kind of going through that for quite a number of years, in all honesty, it suddenly dawned on me that the only way that that is going to change, the only way that I'm going to be able to manage all these things is to be kinder to myself and show myself compassion, that sometimes I am going to forget things. Like right now, Judy, between you and me, there's no milk in the house. I forgot to go to, but everyone's going to be fine. There's some other food that they can have for breakfast. Whereas before, I would have been really negative on the self talk. I would have stressed myself out. Whereas now it is very much like there's only so many hours in a day. I have to prioritize and I have to learn how to prioritize. So I've got systems in place. I use a variety of different pieces of software. But in all honesty, for anyone that is juggling a number of things, my biggest piece of advice is to practice self-compassion, because that makes such a huge difference.
Amazing. You're amazing. So Hannah, I know that the Female Creative is an empowering community for creative businesses, but what does that really mean? What is it that you do with these people?
So the first thing is creating that safe space. When you are turning a creative hobby or a creative passion into a business, there is so much information out there, right? Like, this is how you've got to market. This is how you've got to do sales. This is the systems you've got to set up. This is the things, these are the people that you need to go talk to. These are the strategies that you need to use. And it's hugely overwhelming. And for creatives, they just want to do the creative thing. They don't want to have to learn all the intricacies of the financial management and the strategic management. And that gets really, really overwhelming. So I started off the Female Creative just to make that a little bit less overwhelming, help people with their messaging, help people with their branding. Because although the women that I had connected with were able to create something amazing or provide a service that absolutely helped out their community, they weren't clear on their messaging. They didn't know how to reach their audience. They didn't know how to put themselves into that space. So I was helping them do that. The things that I had learned through being a country music singer-songwriter, branding myself, I created a whole persona. So I didn't sing under Hannah. I created an alter ego, which she's called Lily Garland. So Beyonce has Sasha and I have Lily Garland. And she was my country music alter ego. And through that process, I learned so much about branding, marketing, event management, creating merchandise, using that to support your services, networking, social media, all of that sort of thing. And I realized that that could really help creative businesses. So I just set up a small community to start with, helping people with quite specific things. But I realized as time went on, the biggest issue that creative entrepreneurs have is that feeling of overwhelm. All the hats that you have to wear, whether that be in business, whether that be in life, it starts to get really overwhelming. And I learned that the overwhelm caused inaction. And there was then this horrible cycle of feeling overwhelmed, not taking action, then getting really angry with yourself, then not hitting your goals, then feeling overwhelmed even more. And people were quitting. People were stopping. Whereas I saw a pathway for them to be able to monetize something they love, because that's the ideal, right? We want to earn money feeling like we're not working. We want to earn an income that makes us feel like we're a light, that we're having that positive impact, that we're doing something that we love. So I come into businesses and I help clear away that noise. I take that real quick overview of what is going on and work out where we can prioritize, where we can take that action, where we can set goals that are going to work for them. And the biggest impact that that has is them being able to learn how to deal with comparison, learn how to deal with the overwhelm. And one of the things that I really want to stress is we all feel overwhelmed at times. I'm sure, Judy, you feel overwhelmed in the same way that I feel overwhelmed, because that is just a natural human feeling. However, what I want female entrepreneurs especially to be able to do is recognize that feeling and then recover from it, because the strength is in the recovery. The strength is being able to sit in your feelings and say, I'm having a really bad day, or this is causing me a lot of stress, or I'm really overwhelmed, or I'm really confused and I don't know which direction my business is going in. But through strategies and tactics, being able to take themselves out of that low and put themselves back on a trajectory towards a high. So I do that predominantly through one-to-one coaching, through a free Facebook group. I have had a podcast as well. And again, the podcast is something that I've had to pick up and put down when my schedule allows, and forgive myself for having to do that and not being able to do every single thing that is currently within my creative brain, because there's a lot going on in there. And, that's really important for me then, to be able to teach other entrepreneurs to be able to do the same, to be able to clear that noise themselves and be able to ride the highs and the lows when being in business in a way that feels in alignment to their lives and what they want to achieve.
So what is your goal setting methodology?
So I have developed a 3-step goal setting methodology. And step 1 is super simple. It is about setting 3 different types of goals. As I mentioned at the beginning, so often in business, we focus on the financials. Now, don't get me wrong, the financials are really important because, money makes the world go round. It puts food on the table and it puts a roof over our head. So it's really important to have that financial goal. But what I talk about is setting 2 elements to that. What is your minimum that you need to bring in? And then what is the amount that you want to bring in? Because they're often quite different. And again, it can cause so much overwhelm if the end destination is too far away. So break that down. I also encourage people to set a creative goal. So do something that isn't necessarily going to bring in income. It might do, it might cross over, but it doesn't have to. What it does have to do is set your heart alight. It has to allow you to be creative. And that might be blogging, that might be vlogging, that might be creating your own podcast. It might be creating a new product that supports your services, but something that allows you to be creative. And the 3rd type of goal that I encourage people to set is an impact goal. How can you have a wider positive impact on your community, however small or however large? And that's partly why I'm chatting to you today, Judy. One of my impact goals is to reach out to share this goal setting method with as many people as possible. So that's step 1, set 3 different types of goals. Step 2 is about breaking that down into quarterly objectives. Because like I said a moment ago, when you look at that end goal, sometimes that can feel really overwhelming. There's so many rungs on the ladder. And actually, you just need to take the first few. The rest will figure itself out later. So if you can break down your goal into quarterly outcomes, measurable, achievable things that you can work towards in each set of 3 months, and then that is going to take you towards your goal. So that's step 2. And my 3rd step is breaking it down even more and taking those quarterly objectives and those quarterly outcomes and breaking them down into monthly activities. They're the small little steps that almost, if you think about when you throw a really small stone into a pond and you just get this little ripple effect, that's what those activities are. And all of those little ripple effects are going to start to have an impact when you add them all together. And the great thing about the monthly activities is they're totally flexible. If your goals change direction, it's okay to be able to do that. And by looking at your monthly activities, that's when you really know if you're working in alignment. So they're the 3 steps. Set 3 different types of goals: financial, creative, and impact. Break those down into quarterly objectives or outcomes, and then break those down into monthly activities. And the best thing about goal setting, and this is one of the misconceptions I see a lot, is goal setting's not just for Christmas. You don't just have to do it at the end of the year, ready for the start of the new year. Goal setting can happen at any point. Already this year, we're in April, and what I thought my goals were going to be at the end of 2023, they've been completely blown out of the water because of the incredible opportunities that I've had. So it's really great to then be able to use this 3-step method to revisit your goals at any time that they're feeling out of alignment. And that's what I love about being able to tell people about it.
That's amazing. I've heard a lot of things about goal setting and have taught a lot of it myself, but I love how you've broken it down into 3 steps. That makes it simple and easy. I know it's still got a lot of work to it, but it makes it seem like it's going to be a lot easier than it does when you hear, oh, you got to divide your life into 8 parts and then go into each one. And this just seems so much better. I wrote it down, as you probably saw me taking notes on everything you were saying. You're good. I learned a lot from you already. So, what are the business foundations that you encourage entrepreneurs to develop?
For me, there are 4 main business foundations. The first is messaging. And what I have discovered, and the reason that I put that as number 1, is if you're not clear on who you're talking to and what you're talking about, it doesn't matter how much strategy you have in place or how many systems you have in place. You are still only going to go so far because you don't have that clarity. And I don't mean that your messaging has to be perfect, because one of my most favorite phrases that I say probably multiple times a day to a variety of different people is done is better than perfect. Because so often as entrepreneurs and creative entrepreneurs, we want everything to be just right. And we create more overwhelm for ourselves by trying to make things perfect. I was having a call with a client this morning, and that was exactly what was going on. Every time I was talking to her about which direction her business was going in, I could see her mind was taking her to this place of perfection and of not being able to move on until it was perfect. And I kept having to bring her back going, no, I want rough and ready. I want things just thrown down on a page. I don't want this organized. I just want this there. Done is better than perfect. So when I talk about messaging, that's exactly my philosophy. Just to have an idea of who you are talking to, the transformation that you are trying to bring to your audience. And that is the first foundation. The second foundation is all about strategy. And strategy is super simple to me. You don't need massive documents. You don't need huge, complicated theories. To me, strategy is knowing what you're going to do and why you're going to do it. Asking yourself the questions like, well, how is this going to work towards my goal? How is this going to move my business forward? How is this going to fulfill me in a way that is going to keep me motivated? So strategy is about being able to set those goals, use that 3-step goal setting method, and really get clear on where you are now and where you're going to go into the future. The third foundation is systems, because as entrepreneurs, we are busy people and we will fit as much as we possibly can into one day. It's just what we do. So where can you free up pockets of time? What systems can you put in place that allow you to focus on something else? And systems could be things like your email messaging system, messaging bots, scheduling software for social media, using AI to be able to create content and blogs, having a client management system, but also as simple as knowing how your client or your customer is going to get from A to B. How are you going to bring them in, nurture them, and convert them into a paying client? That in itself is a system. So it's really looking at just implementing systems one step at a time. Remember, done is better than perfect. So it's what can you bring into your business that allows you to free up some of that extra time to allow you to be creative. And the fourth one is mindset. The fourth one is so important because without having the right mindset, running a business is always then going to be twice as hard as it needs to be. And when I talk about mindset, it is very much around learning how to self-validate, learning how to have that inner dialogue that congratulates yourself, that celebrates your wins. It doesn't matter how small they are. The inner dialogue that allows you to realize that you're comparing yourself to somebody and taking yourself away from that. And also being able to make a choice when it comes to the feedback. as entrepreneurs, right, someone's always ready to give their opinion on how we're doing, aren't they? So being able to, really have that confidence in yourself, have that ability to reflect on what you're doing, and then say, do you know what, actually, I don't need that bit of feedback because that doesn't align, or that's a great piece of feedback. I didn't even think about it in that way. Let me go away and let me implement. And that's where the mindset really kind of comes into its own. I don't mean about being positive all the time, or saying, yeah, I've got confidence, because all of us, our confidence just, has highs and lows. We go through periods where we feel on top of the world, and the next moment we think, why are we doing this? Why can't I just go and get a simple job? Why can't I just be happy with doing something really easy? And the mindset allows us to ride those highs and lows. And when we do have a low, come out the other side. So they're the 4 business foundations: messaging, get me words out, messaging, strategy, systems, and mindset.
Excellent. That's amazing. So, what is the impact that you want to have on your community?
I want women especially to know that whatever their background, whatever they're doing right now, if they want to start a business and earn an income from doing something they love, they can. They don't have to have it all figured out. They don't have to have gone to business school, because there's so many things that they have learned in their lives that they can transfer over. I've recently been doing some talks at local colleges for those that kind of in their late teens. And initially I was thinking, well, what have I got to give to them? Like, I'm an ex-teacher, so I can talk, as you can probably tell right now. I can talk, I can stand in front of a class of teenagers. But I said, what is going to have the biggest impact with them? And I realized it was letting them know that their career doesn't have to be linear, that they can change direction whenever they want. I have gone from being a teacher to being a police officer, to being a country music singer, to having my own music festival, to starting my own coaching business, to going from being a police officer to working in the aviation industry. None of that is linear. I did music at university. And, quite often people look back and go, oh, I didn't ever use my degree. What I do now is a completely different topic to what I studied at university. It's like, it doesn't matter, because you picked up so many skills. You picked up so much knowledge. Every aspect of life that we walk into, we learn something. And the impact that I want to have is to show people that they can take those learnings and they can apply them in running a business, in creating a passion project, a creative project. And that's totally possible. And if someone tells you no, just carry on doing it anyway. Because I tell you what, one thing that we creative entrepreneurs are great at is figuring it out. We might not always know where we're going to end up, but we certainly know how to figure it out.
We certainly do. My mother used to always say, everything is figure outable.
Yes.
And I love that. I've often thought I should write a book based on my mother's sayings, because everything is figure outable. We can figure it out. We just have to just start, just take the first step. And that's what you're saying. And I love how you've given us 3 steps for setting goals, and you've given us the 4 foundations of business. I mean, you've just given us a whole class right here in this last half hour. It's been absolutely wonderful. Now, tell us a little bit about your country western singing. We're all interested in that.
So I started that, oh gosh, I'm trying to think how long ago. So as I said, music's always been my background. I was classically trained as a singer. I trained in singing opera, and I spent a lot of time not understanding what I was singing about because it was in a variety of different languages. I've also been very heavily involved in musical theatre, right from kind of being a child really through to adulthood. But I was in a situation where I was in a relationship, and all of that stopped. All of my creativity stopped. All of my performing stopped. And for about 8 years, I was very much in a situation where my self-confidence was gradually being edged away. My identity was being edged away. Throw in having a baby for the first time, and then trying to kind of understand who you are and who you are as a mum and who you are as a person who is not just a mum. And so in 20 oh gosh, where were we? 2014, I think it was. I ended that relationship, and there was a lot of trauma that was associated with that relationship and with ending that relationship. And I rediscovered music. I rediscovered that, like I used to do when I was younger, that when I was feeling something, I would write it out in lyrics. So I would used to have notepads and notepads of unfinished songs, of lyrics, and there'd be little melodies kind of going around in my head. And it was only when I went into a recording studio, actually to record a song for my grandfather's funeral. My mum had asked me to sing a version of Over the Rainbow, but it was the Faith Hill version. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it is beautiful. It's a really lovely arrangement. And I knew I wouldn't be able to sing it live because, you know, that's a really difficult situation. So I went into a studio to record it. And the producer at the studio said, well, why don't you come back and record some other songs? I think you would really suit some Carrie Underwood. I think you would really suit some Miranda Lambert. How about a little bit of the Chicks? And I was like, yeah, I love those. I love those guys. Like, I was over in Austin, Texas in 2000, and I saw the Chicks for the first time with my cousin, and I was absolutely sold. Like, the songwriting, the performance, the musicianship was just out of this world. So I started to record some cover songs, and then the producer said, well, have you ever written any songs? Have you got any lyrics? And then I pulled out my giant notepad and was like, well, actually, I do. And I started to put together songs based on the experience that I'd had in the relationship, which totally lends itself to country music because it's all about the heartbreak, right? So I started writing the songs, and I'd play them to a few people. I was really nervous. And obviously my mum loved them because my mum's my biggest fan. But I started to play them to a few other people, and people really connected. They really connected with the lyrics. So I did an open mic night and performed in public for the first time. And it grew from there. And I released 2 EPs. I've gigged all over the UK. I've supported American artists if they've come over to the UK. And you know, I loved it. I loved performing. And because a lot of the stuff in the UK has a huge country music scene. And it's incredible. But a lot of it sits in the Midlands and up north. Well, I'm right down south. Like, you know, I can see the sea from where I am. So I suddenly realized that I was getting tired of traveling. So it's like, why not bring everyone to me? As us creative entrepreneurs do. I was like, I know, I'm just going to create a country music festival, and I'm going to bring everyone down south to me. And the first year was 2019, and it was amazing, and everybody loved it. And then, of course, COVID struck, and we all went into lockdown, and the pandemic just rolled on and on and on. And it was during the pandemic that I realized that I could transfer the skills that I had to female entrepreneurs, to helping support creative businesses. But my music is still on Spotify. And at the festival last weekend, I did do a cheeky little cameo to Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats with one of the bands that was finishing off. And, you know, it reminded me, and I get so many comments like, oh, when are you coming back on stage? And, you know, Judy, like, sometimes we just move on, don't we? Like, sometimes you move on in life, and that was a part of you, and that was amazing. And I think because it happened at a time where I really was in a period of self-discovery, that I feel like I've outgrown that particular period of my life, but I'm loving being able to support UK country music artists in another way, through the festival, through, you know, promotional opportunities, through helping them understand how to market themselves and how to put on their own events. So it's amazing how things evolve, right?
You are just amazing. You're absolutely amazing. And on top of that, let's tell my viewers that you also write for Our Choices magazine. And
Yes.
we really appreciate you doing that. We love your stories that you've put in Choices magazine. So, I mean, they can keep in touch with you there, but how else can they keep in touch with you?
The best way is to join me on Instagram. That is my most active platform, at @_female creative. But if you head to my website, you can see it on the screen at the moment, www.thefemalecreative.co.uk. You've got links to my email, my messaging service, all my social media. But yeah, Instagram is the place that you'll find me. If you just put The Female Creative in, you'll soon see all of the orange and pink that is part of my branding, and you'll be able to find me.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah, for being here with us today. We greatly appreciate it. And I hope you'll come back and be with us again soon when I'm not dealing with ducks and cats.
I would love that. Thank you so, so much. It's been amazing to chat to you, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being with us today. It's been a real pleasure to have you join us. I think you will appreciate all of our guests. And so if you have a story that you'd like to share with me on what's your story, just contact me at WWDBTV.
I think Judy went to go let Tracy in. I've heard the doorbell ring. I don't know if you heard it or not.
Is that what that was? I thought that was part of the outro music.
No. I'm sure that was a doorbell. So,
Sorry.
Good job.
Sorry.
Excellent show.
I was so distracted with the cat headbutting me and Tracy outside yelling and banging on the window. I was like, oh my God.
You did so well. Like all of that going on.